A very pleasant good morning to all the one who have had gathered here in this learning platform. And Dr.SNSRCAS Rajalakshmi Arts and Science College is highly delighted to have Dr. Sasi ma'am with us. May I request Dr. Tilakavati to have a small welcome note as a mark of introducing the resource persons for this session. Please, Tilakavati ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Dilipan. I could say that I am overwhelmed to introduce the next speaker of the day, Mrs. Sasi Gangia, lecturer from the Department of Hospitality and Tourism from Durban University of Technology, South Africa. Sasi ma'am is an eminent freelance dietitian and health counselor and also owns a restaurant in Durban. Ma'am is involved in training of development of project managers and startup of 4 new restaurants. Ma'am also worked various academic responsibilities and presented a number of papers in academic events and South African institutions. Now, I welcome Sasi Gangia ma'am to deliver the talk on today's topic. Sasi
Thank you, Tilaka.
The forum is yours. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Tilaka. A very good morning from South Africa. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I would like to continue on the topic healing solution for travel challenges post-COVID-19. So I'm going to talk on the following topics: additional factors to be considered for improving immunity, restaurant and kitchen safety along with food safety, and changes in travel post-COVID-19. Let's first look at the lymphatic system. It's parallel to the circulatory system and is responsible for the immunity in the body. One of the best ways to improve the functioning of lymphatic system and the immune system is to do regular exercise because it creates a pumping action. Next is hot and cold showers. Hot water helps to dilate the blood vessels while the cold water increases circulation. So this creates a pumping action. So initially start the bath with the hot water and soap to get rid of the virus and dislodge the virus from the skin, followed by a cold shower, which will create a pumping action. However, this is not suitable for pregnant women and people with cardiovascular diseases or people who are above the age of 60 years. Then drinking clean water, more than 2 liters is very important as it helps to detox and hydrate the body. Avoid wearing tight clothes because this will prevent the circulation of lymph in the body. Breathe deeply. The pumping action of deep breathing will help the lymphatic system transport the toxins into the blood before they are detoxified by the liver. Let's look at the foods that promote lymph. We have green leafy vegetables, low sugar fruits, ground flaxseed, sabja seeds, avocados, garlic, Brazil nuts, almonds, walnuts, and cranberries. Certain foods that cause blockage to the lymphatic system should be avoided, such as processed foods, conventionally raised meat and milk, artificial sweeteners, conventional dairy products, sugar, soya, and products, as well as table salt. Next is raw food diet. Let's look at the concepts of raw food. Raw foods are more nutritious than cooked food because they contain enzymes along with some nutrients which can be destroyed during the cooking process. Cooking will also destroy heat-sensitive nutrients and can alter the bioavailability of some of the nutrients. The raw food diet consists of raw fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds being the staples. Sprouted grains and legumes are excellent raw food that should be washed and air-dried properly to prevent the growth of mycotoxins. Let's look at the benefits, some more benefits of raw food. Although there is a problem of anti-nutritional factors, raw foods are rich in fiber, vitamins, minerals, disease-fighting phytochemicals, and they can be easily absorbed by the body. They're also low in calories, fat, sodium, and high in fiber, and therefore it leads to weight reduction and it greatly lowers the body fat. So this helps with type 2 diabetes. And because raw food is bulky, it also helps in preventing overeating. Now, being low in sodium, it helps with cardiovascular diseases, osteoporosis, stomach cancer, and kidney diseases, and also helps to check hypertension. Now, since the natural composition is retained, raw food communicates well with the body's internal homeostatic system, and therefore the hunger hormones and the appetite hormones, leptin and ghrelin, are in balance. So they work in balance, and therefore the natural effects are seen efficiently. Now, raw food also contains brain-healthy micronutrients that are found in cooked food. And intake of raw foods and vegetables helps with improved mental health, lowered feelings of depression and stress. Another major benefit of raw food is that it increases body's acid-alkaline balance. And therefore, it helps to improve the oxygen uptake in the body. Raw food also helps to improve the gut bacteria in the digestive system. But of course, all food cannot be consumed raw. Let's look at the next part. Okay, that's fasting or langanams. Our ancients have told us that we are not an eating machine, and also fasting is the ultimate medicine. Fasting can be intermittent, water fasting, or soup fasting. Food should be consumed when the digestive fire is burning in the stomach, and it should always be consumed in smaller quantities. Elderly above the age of 60 years should give up eating solid meals for supper. Fruits, nuts, dates, and sprouts should be consumed. If you are able to manage your day with one meal, then just consume one meal. Next is fasting of breath. It means controlled breathing that is deep and slow, or fast and forceful. And this also creates a pumping action and increased uptake of oxygen that improves immunity. Fasting of movement, that means being still or in meditation, which will reduce restlessness in the mind as well as the body. Okay, let's talk about coffee. Smelling coffee reduces stress, and drinking coffee improves immunity. Coffee reduces the circulatory inflammatory markers because of the presence of polyphenols such as chlorogenic acid, and they have many health promoting properties such as antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, anti-diabetics, and anti-hypertensive properties, and also protects neurological diseases. So drinking 2 cups of coffee leads to low incidence of cancer of liver, prostate, endometrium, skin, and colon. And when you consume 6 cups of coffee, it reduces 50% risk of getting diabetes mellitus. Okay, let's look at structured water. Professor Gerald Pollack from the University of Washington has written a book on the 4th phase of water. Structured water is energized because it absorbs radiant energy. There are health benefits because it increases energy, it improves concentration and memory, promotes weight loss and weight maintenance. It also promotes better sleep. It supports a healthy immune system, helps to detoxify, and promotes good digestion and reduces constipation. Let's look at the next section, that is recitation of mantra or verses. This is based on the essence of sound. So vibrations, they tune, quieten, and focus the mind and elevate consciousness. These sound vibrations infiltrate every cell of human being and produce an actual physical vibration, which corresponds to both a specific spiritual energy frequency and a state of consciousness. The vibration brings about positive changes in the immunity system and strengthen it. So some of the stotrams that improve these vibrations are Shiva Tandava, Dhanvantri Mantra, Devi Durga or Devi Shakti Mantra, Hanuman Mantra. There is Dua for Muslims and a number of proverbs in the Quran. And from the Bible, there are proverbs, several proverbs that help to heal the body. Okay, let's talk about food safety before we go on to the restaurants. So far, the food has not been identified as a risk factor. However, prevention is better than cure, and we must take all precaution to make sure that the food is cleaned in case there is any contamination. No studies has revealed that infection has spread through food. However, traces of the presence of virus, SARS virus, has been found in the feces of COVID-19 patients, and hence all precautions must be taken to remove the presence of virus in case it contains. So generally, when you go shopping, certain procedure needs to be followed, such as sanitizing your hands, maintaining social distancing, personal hygiene, and customer service. So grocery shopping is very important, which is still being followed in several countries, such as sanitizing the trolleys, throwing away the takeout and delivery packets, and meals are completely packed. Once the purchasing is done, all the raw materials, perishables, should be washed, air dried, wiped, and then stored in the refrigerator. Okay. So it's very important that the meat is cooked completely. No medium done or rare done meat is allowed to ensure that the virus is killed in case there is virus present. And of course, sharing of equipment, food, tools is not permitted. And all surfaces must be sanitized on using. Okay, social distancing is very important. And let's go on to the next part, that is restaurant and kitchen safety. Okay, so all enterprises must take the following measures. It's very important that before the start of the service, there's deep cleaning of all food enterprises, and then a thermal body scanner can be mounted on the entrance doors. This is for the staff as well as the customers. Monitor employees for any symptoms of COVID-19 and encourage self-reporting. And it's very important that the workers maintain a distance of greater than 1.5 meters or place physical barriers. Demarcation can be created by drawing on the floor so the worker stays in a particular spot as much as possible and performs his work. Employees must screen workers for the symptoms of coronavirus. Of course, they have to be provided 2 cloth masks per employee and a hand sanitizer which contains at least 70% alcohol, soap, clean water, and other disinfectants. And of course, social distancing measures should be provided even for customers. So in terms of PPE, buzzers should also be provided so that every 30 minutes, food service workers will be reminded to sanitize their hands. And of course, they have to have their own clean jackets, which they must bring to work. Cell phones should not be permitted during work hours to prevent cross-contamination. And once they use water bottles, they have to wash their hands during work hours. And of course, tools cannot be shared during work hours. Facial shields can be provided in case workers feel hot with masks. Other possible formats that could have a residual viral load, such as doors, handles, doorknobs, light switches, trolleys, workbenches, equipment, and other work surfaces should be sanitized frequently. And all the incoming non-perishables should be quarantined for 24 hours before it is shifted into a store. So a makeshift store can be provided where these foods can be stored before they are shifted into the regular stores. And the perishables should be washed with water and bleach in a separate clean sink, drained and packed. And there should be about 100 parts per million dilution of sodium hypochlorite, or that is bleach. This will prevent the spread of infection in case the food contains coronavirus, because they are sensitive to chlorination. And to minimize contact, swing doors can be installed in kitchens and restaurants. And foot operating sanitizers can be installed in kitchens and restaurants, storerooms, and all other entrances to prevent contact. And since sanitizers are highly inflammable, they can be stored away. They have to be stored away from fire and hot surfaces. Improving ventilation kitchen would also be useful because this will help to maintain carbon dioxide levels below 800 parts per million and carbon monoxide below 35 parts per million, even though ideally carbon monoxide levels should not be more than 9 parts per million. Because with carbon monoxide, the reaction is irreversible. Even though WHO says that 1,000 parts per million in a restaurant kitchen is acceptable, ideally it is 800 parts per million. And this covers air changes from 20 to 60 per hour. Okay. Now it has been found, when you look at the guidelines for food handlers in kitchen areas, that about 65% of the kitchens in any country tend to have inadequate ventilation. So if the hood sizes are given, then a minimum velocity of at least 35 meters per second should be maintained at the hood opening. So the velocities will depend upon the kitchen load, depending upon the cuisine, the type of equipment, as well as the fuel that is used in the preparation of food. So for light duty kitchen, we can have 0.25 meters per second. For medium duty, it is 0.4 meters per second. And for heavy duty cooking, it is 0.5 meters per second. So once you use only electrical equipment to cook, then that can be classified as light duty or medium duty. But once gas is being used for cooking, it comes under heavy duty cooking. The use of firewood and charcoal in the making of pizza ovens or in the tandoor is classified as extra heavy duty cooking and requires higher velocities. As a guide, a ventilation rate of not less than 17.5 liters per second per square meter of floor area is expected, and not less than 30 air changes per hour is advisable. Okay. Next, since kitchen workers feel hot in kitchens, particularly with face masks, air conditioners and chillers should be installed to maintain thermal comfort, particularly in tropical and semi-tropical climates where the relative humidity is very high. Dehumidifiers can be installed and maintain an RH value of 40 to 50%. It can go up to 60% as well. After that, discomfort will be experienced by the kitchen workers. A sanitization sink can be temporarily installed for a pre-wash process, and face shield need to be used by waiters while serving food and stand at a distance of 1.5 meters from the customers. And during the pickup, the plated food has to be covered either by a cling wrap or by a plate before it is served to the customer. All restaurants need to provide hand washing facilities to the customers before seating, and self-service buffets are not permitted in restaurants. Next, we go on to the travel industry. Now, this is an unprecedented challenge for the travel industry, and health has to be embedded in every aspect of travel. So, according to the World Economic Forum, it is very important to instill trust among the travelers. The travelers must feel safe and confident in the airport as well as in the airlines while traveling. So they have to provide visible sanitizing, screening, and masks so that the travelers feel confident. All countries are promoting health safety protocols and systems which should be followed in the airports as well as in the airlines. So the new systems that are being put in place is digital identity and biometric technologies. So that means it is going to be a touchless options and contactless fingerprint, face recognition, as well as recognition of the iris, will identify the customer. So till a vaccine is developed, it is very important to assess the risk of individual passengers. Now, what happens because of all these protocols put into place? Air tickets are going to cost a fortune, and it's going to increase by 43% up to 54%. And airlines cannot load passengers to full capacity. The maximum load factor is only going to be 62%. And that is why the air tickets are going to be expensive. Also, airlines have to have air changes of 30 times per hour through high efficiency particulate air filters. Okay, what's going to happen at the airports? Now, passengers can expect longer processing times at the airport. Sneeze guard will be installed at all the counters. There will be thermal scanners, and passengers can be expected to undergo COVID-19 tests. The self-service kiosks will be shut down to avoid contact of surfaces, and plexiglass will be placed at several counters and even in restaurants ordering foods. Deep cleaning measures will take place, and therefore some airports are going to be closed overnight for this to happen. And in lounges and waiting areas, social distancing will be practiced, and therefore middle seats can be expected to be kept vacant, and sanitizing wipes need to be provided at every spot. Once you finish your air travel and arrive at your destination, all international passengers will be expected to provide, besides the regular passport, an immunity passport, which is basically a proof of vaccine. Besides other vaccines, the COVID-19 vaccine should also be endorsed for you to be permitted to enter the country. And each passengers will be expected to go through the sanitizing tunnels before boarding the plane as well as after touchdown. All the checked-in bags will also go through sanitizing tunnels and will be sanitized. And if any passenger is assumed to have COVID-19 because of higher body temperature, then isolation rooms should be strategically placed in airports, and such passengers need to be isolated. So that's all about topics related to healing solutions. And if you don't come out of this lockdown with a new skill, more knowledge, better health and fitness, it means that you never lacked time, but you just lack discipline. So make use of this lockdown time and emerge as a new person with new skills, knowledge, health, and fitness. Thank you. Hi, Tilaga.
Hi, ma'am. Thank you, Sasi, ma'am, for the wonderful presentation, which enlightened us with a lot of new information. Now the forum is open for question and answer session. Participants, kindly remain yourself in mute and post your questions in the chat box. So I'll just randomly chosen some questions.
Okay.
And the first question is, how do we ensure a structured water?
Okay, water, when it is coming through the pipes, it gets twisted and therefore it loses its healing structure. So what we can do is, once we fill water in a glass, we can leave it aside for 10 minutes. So that will give time for the water to restructure itself. So it is always better not to consume water straight from the tap. Rather, it should be stored in metal pots or jugs such as copper or brass, or even a steel jug or a glass jug, and then it must be consumed from there. what happens is that when the water has its structure in place, it improves immunity. If you look at the microwave, use of microwaves, it twists the water in the wrong direction and generates heat. This is very unhealthy. And therefore, cancer patients are advised not to use microwave for reheating or cooking their food. And microwaves are also banned in Japan for the same reason. So you can also purchase commercial systems such as Vortex that's fitted to the water taps. And then it sets the water in such a way that it forms its structure and it can be consumed. But simply always fill your water in a jug and then consume it after 10 minutes. So that is the best way to have structured water.
Thank you, ma'am. The another question is, how can we be sure that the water is safe for consumption?
Okay, once the water is boiling either in a kettle or a pot, there's bubbles formed. So that means that the temperature of the water is 100 degrees centigrade. Water should be consumed as hot as possible, but please do not burn your throat or mouth. You can do is let the water cool if you're feeling comfortable at that particular temperature, and always consume warm water. Because at 100 degrees, all pathogens will be killed, and therefore water is safe. So this heated water can be stored in jugs or pots and consumed whenever possible. But please remember, water should be consumed at warm temperatures or at hot temperatures. Drinking cold water is not good for immunity. So it's controversial. You must drink hot water, but you must bath with cold water.
Thank you, ma'am. There is an interesting question from Rosalind Govinder from South Africa. What is the future of street food vendors in India post-COVID-19?
Okay, the customers are going to be very conscious from where they consume food because of the infection from the pathogen. So they are going to be very fussy. Something like consumption of tea or coffee is quite safe from the roadside because the water and the milk is boiled at 100 degrees. So it is free from microorganisms. Whatever is present is all dead. It's killed due to high temperature. So that's okay. If you're also having something like peanuts or puffed rice roasted on hot sand, the high temperature will kill the microbes. So that is also safe for consumption. However, the street vendors are also going to be smart and take precautions in terms of using sanitizers, in terms of using sanitizing wipes, and keep their stall clean. However, when it comes to wet food, the customer has to make a decision of either taking the risk or assuming that he's immune enough and he can fight it, or else be careful and consume only dry food from the street vendors, such as fried food, because it's cooked at higher temperatures and therefore it is safe to consume.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question we received is for Shamila, ma'am. Ma'am, this question is for Shamila, ma'am. Shamila, ma'am. Shamila, ma'am.
Okay, do you have any more questions for me?
Yeah, ma'am. Two more questions are there. When will travel industry recover?
Okay, it is expected that it will take almost 2 years. So only in 2023, you can see that the travel industry and the hospitality industry is back on its foot. So at least 2 years is required for it to recover. Several businesses are going to be closed. And in lieu of that, after getting some assistance, the businesses can reopen. And therefore, you need at least 2 years.
Thank you, ma'am. And the last question for Sasi, ma'am. What will happen to travel industry post-COVID-19?
Okay, because of the stringent requirements in terms of immunity passport and the expensive air tickets, this is going to promote domestic travel. So it will be easier when people travel to local places, nearby states and provinces. And in a way, it is going to help domestic travel and local industries. And the money that is spent on international travel will be much reduced. International travel is going to be mostly for business reasons and official reasons. And leisure travel is going to take a big low down. There will be a big cut in leisure travel, and leisure travel will focus on domestic travel.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your informative answers. And now I thank the teachers for delivering this wonderful and informative session. I would like to state Benjamin Franklin's quote that tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. I'm sure that this session involved us to learn many things on healing solutions for travel challenges post-COVID-19. I thank from bottom of my heart the management team of our institutions and our principal sir Dr. Prem Nazir and today's presenters Dr. Sharmila ma'am and Sasi Gangia ma'am for accepting our